Hello, beautiful people. This is why I stopped going to church. Um, like I told you all before, I went back and forth between my mom and my dad until I was 10 years old. So, my mom always frequented holiness churches, Pentecostal, that type of church. And when I went to live with my father permanently, my grandmother attended a Baptist church. So, from the age of 10 years old up until I was a young adult, 18 up until my 20s, um, I attended a Baptist church. So, those were the two denominations that I was extremely familiar with. Um, as I got older, I was in high school or I had just went to college. The pastor, he was a widower, so he asked me to come over, and the conversation was basically to help him clean, or he just was saying that he needed someone to help him with things, or when he needed to travel, somebody to help him with assistance and things like that. But the conversation didn't feel quite right, and I mentioned the conversation to someone else in the church, and she told one of the deacons. Well, the deacon's response was unexpected and kind of unsavory. He basically said I had no reason going over there, so it was what it was. And you know, from that point on, I actually stopped going to that church because he did not hold the pastor accountable whatsoever. I was a young adult. This man was well into his 70s. He may have already been 80, to be honest. And the woman that I told, her response was, oh, well, he's about to be on his way out of here anyway. So neither one of them really held him accountable for, being inappropriate. He didn't physically do anything. It was just the conversation and the tone of the conversation that was a little uncomfortable because I had been going to that church since I was a little girl. But anyway, that was it for me going to that church. That was it, because when I would go from time to time, even after my grandmother passed away. I would still go and visit there from time to time. But after that, that was pretty much it for me. I was done. um I think I did go at years after he had passed away, the pastor passed away. I did go back and visited, but even that pastor had a very nasty attitude. He was like, "Oh, it doesn't matter how far you live away, you can still come and visit." But little did he know my heart was just not there to visit. I came to visit just to see the people that I already knew. But he even further, you know, put a bad taste in my mouth, and I just never went back after that. I kept in contact with, you know, people that I cared about that was there, but I never went back to that church to say to congregate or anything like that. So that was my first bad instance when it came to church. All right. Now, I did go to undergrad. While I was in undergrad, I did not attend church at all. um, I would probably visit time to time when I went back home. But while I was in undergrad, I did not attend at all. When I graduated, I started going to a Pentecostal church. And, you know, I stayed there for quite a while. I went to graduate school while I was, still going to that same church. And then I eventually moved away. Now, when I moved away, I bounced around from church to church, and eventually I settled on another holiness slash Pentecostal church. Now, this church was a family oriented church, or it was ran and orchestrated by one family. There was a father. The father was the head pastor. There was a mother. There were sisters, and there was a brother, and it was like their children. So it was a father, children, his grandchildren, basically. And they ran the church. They did all the music. They were the assistant pastor. They were the finance committee, and some of their in-laws, stuff like that. But basically, it was a family church. Now, they were good hearty people. They really were good hearty people. I have more good to say about them than bad, but the bad was enough to kind of push me out the door. My son saw it before I did. He didn't really ever have a good taste for church, and I understand why. And he saw a lot of the things that was going on there that were really inconsistent. I saw it too. It's just, I know that people are going to be people, and anywhere that you go, people are going to have issues. So, but I stayed for a while, for stability. So, like I said, this was a Holiness Pentecostal church, and you know, it was the same rhetoric that you hear in every church. The behavior, there was lack of a deeper conversation, meaning like there wasn't like a whole lot of explanation of the history of the Bible and making any connections. It was just, that same hacking, trying to make a point, trying to have a good sermon and not explaining and bringing any definition to the word or to the Bible. And I just really didn't feel like I was getting anything out of it. Just like the Baptist church that I went to as a child, I didn't get anything out of it. I'm not even going to lie to you. I heard the same things. I had some things committed to memory, but as far as attaching to my soul, I never felt that attachment. I just felt like it was something I was supposed to do, like it was the right thing to do. But I never really felt that I was getting anything of value out of it whatsoever. I wouldn't even lie to you. I thought that I was getting something of value from the new church that I was attending after I graduated from graduate school and I moved. But there were some very unsavory behaviors going on there. There were holiness people, so of course they had, the earring thing, the makeup thing. There was a comment even made one time about my red nail polish that really, really bothered me. I even heard a comment about a Jezebel spirit or something of that nature around the same time that I had on the red nail polish. And it just really, felt like my soul was being scratched. I just felt, it made me feel very, very uncomfortable for such unperfect people to be so judgmental. But I stuck it out. I stayed for a while, and there was even one of the sisters in there that kind of technically stole somebody else's husband. It was a messy situation. I tried to, befriend her and understand, but the family was not happy with the situation at all. And later on, I understood because she turned out to be a snake in the grass herself with very bad characteristics. But anyway, with that being said, during this time that I was at this church, I started feeling like there had to be more to this than this. And I kept saying that there has to be more to it than this, than what I'm learning, than what I'm hearing, because I'm hearing and learning the same things over and over again, which I wasn't really learning anything at all. And so during that time, I went through a divorce, and then, I waited a while, and then I started dating again. And I was staunch about, hey, he needs to be a Christian, this, that. I'm not having any sex with anybody. He needs to believe this. He doesn't need to be smoking, drinking, blah, 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 blah. And I must say a lot of probably good potentials, got away because I was so staunch. Look, first of all, you need to be a Christian. If I asked him, look, you're not a Christian, he said no, that was it. It wasn't anything to talk about. Eventually that started, I started to, lighten up a little bit. But at first I was like, to cut people off and to get the list narrowed down, because I was online dating and it could become a lot if you don't have some type of criteria. I was like, look, if you don't meet this, then it's no need for us to talk about anything else. But in doing that, in meeting people and talking to different men and people, I understood why men did not go to church, did not want to go to church. And I'm going to talk about that in something separate. But, I really stopped and I listened to them. And that's what opened my eyes, because I was already questioning church, but the dating and listening to different people's opinions and experiences, that further opened my mind to, okay, then, well, maybe I don't have it all figured out. Maybe there is more to this than this. And I had people explain it to me, and some really, really got down to the nitty gritty and explained things to me. Some just exposed my mind to new things and allowed me to open up my mind. Because in Christianity, unfortunately, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear in reading anything outside of the Bible. There's a lot of fear in investigating anything outside of the Bible, and that right there in itself is an issue, because there's no way to expand and learn and gain any knowledge if you're just confounded to one book, But also during that time, so I was already questioning church, then I was dating people that were opening my mind. I also had a friend who had already come out of the church, and she was on a whole nother level of thinking at this point. And she awakened me even more. And when she told me to read Deuteronomy 28, that was pretty much that the double doors just swung wide open. And from there, my mind has been opened ever since then. It hasn't stayed there, which is not supposed to do, but it was definitely an eye opener. And when I saw that and I saw us in that book, I said, this is the more that I was talking about, because I kept saying there has to be more to this than this, because it was so superficial, making the connections between the people and who was who. But when I saw us in there in Deuteronomy 28, that for me, that was it. And I just went on, like, for a few years straight, I was just gung-ho about that and that particular train of thought, Hebrew Israelite, us being those people. There's definitely some truth to that. And I was just so grateful for her. That was an amazing time for me. I felt like I learned so much. I learned more in 1 year than I learned in 18. Yes. Like I said, I grew up in a Baptist church, Holiness Church, and I learned more when I came out of church than I did in the whole 18, 20 something years that I was actually in church. And that's sad. That's really, really sad. So when I finally decided to come out of church for good, so around the end of 2017, that's when I was in my lukewarm stage, teeter-tottering back and forth, like, what am I doing? What, am I supposed to be? I was questioning if I was supposed to be in that church and everything. But I remember that year we had Thanksgiving at my sister's house. My dad was there and everything. We cooked a ham. And I remember that year, that ham tasted so good. And I'm sure there's something spiritually to that, because I just kept going and eating pieces and pieces and pieces off of that ham. And so that was the last time I ate pork. And shortly after that, I stopped. That was the last Thanksgiving I celebrated, the last Christmas I celebrated, the last piece of ham I had. And that was in 2017. In 2018, I officially left the church that I was attending. I remember one Sunday in particular, I was up at the altar and they were praying and I felt nothing at all. The pastor was even like, oh, you usually pass out and catch the spirit and things like that. But at that, my mind was so open to the fakeness that was around me. I just stood there and I was just looking at everybody's feet just shuffling around and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I was a Holy Ghost filled, tongue speaking woman. Okay. I was serious about that thing. I had it down pat. I knew that was it. There was nothing else and it shouldn't be questioned, because that was it. But that day, after I woke up, I was in church and I was like, in my head, I was saying, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be here. And one of the members actually said that to me. She said those actual words. She said, what's going on, Angela? What are you thinking about? Are you thinking that you're not supposed to be here? And she hit the nail on the head, because she was exactly right. That's exactly what I was feeling. So she already knew, because I was questioning in my head, like, what am I doing here? I am not supposed to be here. My soul's not happy. I'm not thriving. I'm not learning. And some of the things that, that are going on in this church, I'm not feeling. Like I said, it was a family church, so they were very family oriented. They would say little slick things. Some of the people had very snooty, nasty attitudes because these people were high yellow. Okay, the family was a high yellow family, and there weren't very many dark skinned people in that family at all. A couple brown skin, and the sister that was actually brown skin, they treated her kind of bad, or worse than the others, I would say. But yeah, that's what I was still dealing with in 2018 in a church. And like I said, there was colorism. Some of them would make dark skin comments, to other people, and I was like, how is that okay? That's just not okay. There was a lot of traditionalism. The pastor even said one time, "Oh, I'm just trying to keep up with the traditions of what I was brought up in." And I was like, how is that beneficial to the people, just doing what other people did, and it's not being beneficial whatsoever. But yeah, that year, 2018, I came out. That was the last time I attended church. And after that, I started, congregating over the phone, and we would do Sabbath over the phone. And I got in deep into that as well. The head coverings, wearing my tzitzits, or my fringes around my clothing, and I started congregating with other people. I congregated with a really big Hebrew Israelite school. I went there a couple times, but I just wasn't feeling that either. And so I found a local community that I started, communing with more and more and more. Different gatherings and things like that. And we would get together to celebrate the holy days and things of that nature. But unfortunately, I found some of the same rhetoric that I found in the Christian church. I love them. I really, really do. I still do. I love all of them. We still keep in touch from time to time. It's just that I stopped, going on a regular basis and fellowshipping, because there were some things that I just wasn't feeling. So, the talking down about other people, talking about down about other groups. I just am not a fan of talking down to other people and about other people all the time. Like, that can't be all the time. I want to learn. I want to know how to live. What should we be doing? Us talking down and about other people and what they're not doing and what they're still doing is not helping anything at all. You're preaching to the choir, because the people that were there already knew that what they were doing were wrong. That's why they left Christianity and left churches already. So it doesn't have to be said in every, Sabbath class what other people are doing, and that was something that left a bad taste in my mouth. And another thing was, I would hear little slick comments from time to time that really rubbed me the wrong way about the fact that I was still a member of an organization that I joined when I was in college. And I went back and forth with that in my spirit. And, I came to the conclusion, okay, so me being a member of this organization is not a salvation issue whatsoever. And so I just got tired of hearing it. So that wasn't the only reason I stopped congregating. It was just one of the reasons I stopped congregating. And I came out so that I could just hear for myself. Sometimes it doesn't matter how genuine someone's intentions are. You've got to hear it and understand it for yourself. So I came out of congregating with them and fellowshipping with them so I could hear and understand for myself, because I also came to the conclusion even there that there had to be more to it than that. There was more to it than that. And so I know that we need each other and we need to congregate and things of that nature. I understand that, but sometimes you have to pull back. Even Yeshua, he went off so that he could speak to the Most High. He went off alone by himself so that he can think and he can process, and that's what we have to do sometimes. Yes, we have to commune, we have to be together and all of that, yes, but sometimes you need to just think and process some things. But for me, I also learned throughout all of this that that spirituality, because it's not religion is not where we're supposed to be, because that's what's gotten us into a whole lot of problems. But now I understand what people say when they say, I'm not a religious person, I'm a spiritual person. I totally get it now. I get it and I understand. this has been a beautiful growth for me over the years. I never thought that I would be right here where I am. When I was in Christianity, you couldn't have told me that I would think anything other than what I thought when I was in Christianity. When I was congregating with Hebrews, you couldn't have told me that I would think anything other than I thought right then. And so right now I'm in a place where I'm not limiting myself to any understanding. I'm not saying that I stopped believing, who we are as a people, because there's truth to that. And I do believe that. What I'm saying is I'm not limiting myself anymore. I'm not limiting myself to one train of thought. I'm not limiting myself to one book or a certain group of books. My mind is open to different languages, to learning about different religions and what they consist of. And I'm just not afraid, because that fear is what keeps us stuck. And if you are fearful of researching and thinking outside of the box, or looking into anything other than what you know, then you're not seeking the truth. You can't be seeking the truth, because the truth is not only in one thing. The truth is not only in one book. The truth is not only in one religion. The truth is not only in one church with one group of people. That's just not how it works. So, like I said, I thought I had it all figured out. Now that I know that I don't have it figured out, my mind is totally open, and I just want to know the truth. I am constantly reading. I'm constantly listening. My ears are open, and I talk less. I think more. I listen more. I watch more. And that's all that this is about. This is about opening up your mind. I'm not talking down about Christianity. I'm not talking down about Hebrew Israelites or anything like that, because this is the thing about Israelites. You can't come in and out of it. It's not like Christianity where you can come in and out of it. Israelites are a group of people by blood. So if you are one, you are one. There's no coming in and out of it. All that I'm saying is the congregating part. I backed away from, because I needed to listen for myself, listen to the voice and for myself, because there were a lot of things even in that I didn't agree with. Some things I just don't agree with. I don't agree with everything being male or masculine. And a lot of people get that misunderstood, because in the Bible, a lot of times when it's talking about humanity, it'll say man, and people think, okay, well, it's talking about a male, when it's talking about the man species, the species of a man and a woman. It's talking about humans, and it's not just talking about a male. And there's places where I feel the female or the feminine has been purposely removed. And I think a lot of that has to do with who was interpreting and distributing the Bible at a particular time, a certain group of people that had a certain tendency towards a certain side of the fence. So, with that being said, I am very slow to argue on scripture. I only say and repeat exactly what I'm seeing and what I'm reading from whatever version I'm reading it from, because depending on the version, you'll get a different understanding. And that's what people have to realize and understand. You won't ever have it all figured out. I don't care how many books you read, how many witnesses you have, you're not ever going to have it figured out, because these are books written by men. Yes, they could have been inspired by a higher power, the most high creator, but they're still written by men, and we have fallacies, we have faults, we make mistakes, we change things sometimes to be just to our liking, to be to our benefit or our purpose, to serve our personal purpose, because that's what humans do. And so that's all I wanted to say about that. This is why I came out of Christianity, why I came out of the church, and where I am right now in my spiritual walk. And it's a beautiful progression. I think of it as a staircase. I just started down here and now I'm just gradually just climbing. I don't believe that I will ever have it figured out. And however, I am constantly pursuing that. I want to figure it out. It is a beautiful, evolution, and it's something that I suggest everyone do. But the first thing you have to do is get out of your fear. Fear will keep you stuck. And if you read the Bible or if you're a believer, you know that He has not given us a spirit of fear. So you all be blessed. Thank you all for watching.